So welcome to the video, and this is it. This is the video of us talking about and reviewing and studying for the midterm exam. The first thing we're going to do is discuss about when it is and what it is. Actually, what to expect. It is chapters 1 through 5, but we also have to talk a little bit about what it is. So I'll put in here midterm notes, and I did connect my pin. This is the first time in several months, so hopefully it works. Oh no, it's set for the other screen. Ay. Okay, that's so odd. So what I'll do is I'm going to move it over to the other screen, and then I'll change the camera view as well to the other screen. And hopefully that will enable us to see it better. Can you guys see the OneNote?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So, and a lot of this info you might already know. And by the way, we don't even have to have this on. Yeah, so some of this info you probably will already know, but we're just going to go over it anyway. So that we're all on the same page, you know? So the midterm exam is going to start Tuesday, October 25th. And that's when it opens up. And that it opens up, it will be available right there at 12 a.m. Okay, really Monday midnight. And then let's make sure that it is set for the right time to close out as well. Okay, yeah. And it is going to close that Wednesday, October 26th at 11:59. And so it's open for 48 hours. So that's our window of time, all right? And you have to take it within that one time. So you just have one single attempt. The results will be posted after the test has ended. So you'll be able to see your results on Thursday. And you can begin to go over it and actually review it. Now you'll probably get your results the moment you complete the test, once you submit it, but you won't have the ability to actually go in and see the ones you missed, if I'm understanding correctly. And so it will be online. It's not going to be a lockdown browser or anything like that. It's just like a quiz that we've been taking. The only The only difference is that this will be worth 25% of your grade, and it's based on chapters 1 through 5. Okay, I just wanted to give out all that info. A little bit more about it too. Before we start talking about the practice midterm, I want to give you the number of problems, the amount of time, and also the sections that the problems come from. So let me dive in there real quick and see. Make sure that, all right. So let me go in there. Wow, okay. It has been reduced to just 15 problems. That's what we're going to do. 15 problems for the midterm exam. Usually it's 20, but not this time. It's only 15 questions this time, okay? The allotted time looks like we have 150 minutes. Plenty of time. That's like 10 minutes a problem on average. This is considered 2 hours and 30 minutes. Wait, did I do that right? Yep, 120 minutes plus another 30 minutes. And also, I'm going to show you the questions that they may come from as well. So this takes me a minute to do this because I'm doing it live. I'm actually looking through at the time that we're speaking. So 2 questions come from 1.1. Two questions are coming from 1.2. One question from 1.3. Okay, so there's 5 right there. One question for 2.1. 2 questions on 2.2. And a single question from 2.4. Okay. For 3.1, one question for 3.1. One question on 3.4. One question from 3.5. And And then it looks like at this point, it looks like one question from 5.1, one from 5.2, and one from 5.3. And I think that's it. I'm going to count this up. That's 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Chapter 4 didn't make it. All right. So that's about all the info that I'm going to give for the final exam. The other thing we're going to focus in on is the practice. I said final exam, I'm sorry. That's the information I'm going to give for the midterm. So the rest of this will be spent on questions that you guys may have, and then also trying to study from the practice midterm exam. And I will say, because I know why I get this question so much. It looks like the practice midterm exam counts. And when you actually do it and work on it inside Pearson, it gives you a grade, and then it may even affect your Pearson grade. And that's why students freak out a little bit about it. And I do apologize, but the truth is that the practice midterm does not count. And the only grade that is really current is your grade inside of Canvas. And as you can see, you're not going to have a grade inside Canvas for the midterm exam. Now, the grade that you see inside Pearson, I don't know how it's really being calculated. I don't monitor that, and I've never truly set up the grade book for that. I could have, but I just felt like, oh, it's better to just keep the grades in one central location, which is Canvas. And that's kind of where we're trying to keep the grades. But I don't see why I've never set it up in it. And that's something I'll have to put a note to myself that maybe I could set them up so that they say the exact same thing. It wouldn't be too terribly difficult to do, but I just haven't set it up that way. It's just not the way it is right now. But so if you happen to see a grade for your practice midterm, don't worry, it is going to be deleted, and it will just simply will not count at all. Okay. So now let's actually go to it. I'll just work off of this screen since it seems to be a little bit easier for me. So the first thing we're going to do is find where the practice midterm is. So we could go in a number of places. The syllabus link will take you to all the assignments if you scroll all the way down. And there it is. And if you click on it, this is what it looks like, all right? Keep in mind that it is due 10/24. That's a minute before the actual midterm opens up. So they will not be open at the same time, okay? So that's the thing, you have to take advantage of working on it now. Now, it doesn't affect your grade. So sometimes students will say, oh, it doesn't affect my grade, so I'm not even going to do it or study from it. But I think that it's one of the best study guides that you could actually have. And it'd probably be worth doing, okay? One thing I did do, and let me see, if I go into student view, I'm curious if you guys have access to, oh, you guys don't have access to the files? You guys can't get to the files?
No.
Okay. I don't like that you can't get to the files. Yeah, that's you should have you should have access to all the files. I think it's just a matter of let me see if I can update that real quick. Because I actually put in I put in a copy of a practice midterm exam. All right, let me see if you guys can get to the files now. So inside files, there is another folder called Upload Media. And there is an older practice midterm. It's the exact same one that I work off of. So let's say, for example, you didn't get a chance to print out the practice midterm before it closed so that you can use it for a study guide. That's the reason why I put a copy of it in our files. So even though you may not have downloaded it, you actually do have access to it if you needed it. It's too big to actually pull up. So you probably have to just download it straight away by clicking on the three dots in the end and you just download it. But I'm actually going to show you how to download the one that we're working off of. And you should be able to download it with the actual answers as well. So you click on syllabus. And then what you do is you go all the way down to, practice midterm. All right. My student account hasn't set it up. I don't even have Pearson. Let me leave this. Okay, back to this. It says, are you ready to start? Practice midterm, 50 questions. It's due next week, Monday. The attempts, unlimited. That's 99 attempts, and you actually have 600 minutes, 10 hours. All right, so basically, you can work on this as much as you want. Okay, so you hit start test. And it's one of these. You probably could also start this test or the practice test inside the Pearson website as well. And I know some students who do that because working inside of Canvas, sometimes you're restricted and the screen size doesn't open up in the way that it should. And you just, it's hard to maneuver around online. Sometimes it can be very frustrating, and I'm aware of this. And so you could technically open this up on the Pearson website by going into My Lab and Mastering, and then just clicking on your assignments. And this is one of your assignments, even though it's not being graded, or it's not counting toward your grade. So then you'll have a bigger window to work with. And this is a sample question, as you can see, right? It says, this is one of the 50. It says drag each word or phrase given above to the appropriate definition. So it's just a matter of dragging and dropping. Sometimes students get frustrated with the drag and drop feature because you got to remember you have to hover over the space until it lights up, and then you just let go. So like I believe data has to do with information that describes a characteristic of an individual. So I'm going to go with data. Okay. Continuous. The continuous numbers actually have an infinite amount of possibilities. Discrete has a finite number or a countable number of possible values. Let's see. Now we're down to quantitative, qualitative, and then variable. Well, qualitative allows you to classify different things like eye color, hair color, gender, race. These are all qualitative data, which can be described by a variable. So I'm going to put that there. And that means we're down to just variable and quantitative variable. And quantitative is dealing with quantity, which is numerical, and variable is a characteristic of an individual within a population. See. Okay, not bad. Sometimes it's good to identify the kind of problem it is, right? When we're talking about quantitative and qualitative, we're talking about chapter 1. Now, I don't remember the exact section, probably section 2 or 3, but it helps when you're able to identify the type of problem, because then you know how to approach it. Sometimes if you don't identify the problem or where it's coming from, and you mistake that problem for a different type of problem, which is likely to happen because sometimes we use the same examples and same data sets for different chapters within the book. And that could throw you off. You could be using a different formula or a different technique that's not called for that problem. So it's really important to take your time with these questions, make sure that you know you have a ballpark figure of where the problem is coming from, okay? And you should have resources available to you. Since you're able to use your notes, you should be able to quickly kind of identify you know, the kind of problem what they're asking us. Now, here it says a blank is a person or object that is a member of the population being studied. That sounds like a parameter. Because the parameter is that thing that's coming from the population. And sometimes in nursing, they may give you the parameters, or the data that's given is considered a parameter because you're being compared to the entire population. Okay. So here's determine whether the underlying numerical value is a parameter or a statistic. Now, does it come from a population or does it come from a sample of the population? And the first thing it says is in a poll of a sample, so there's no way it can be a parameter. That eliminates half of the choices. Actually, probably more than that. It is a statistic because the data is coming from a sample of adults in the city is a sample. To me, that seems like one of the best choices. But what's weird about this question is there's just so many choices. There's 8 choices altogether. Wow. They're really testing your understanding of this. I'm going to move on. Now, I've answered enough questions. What I'm going to do now is submit the test because I want to show you how to actually print it out with the answers. So you can actually print it out once it's been submitted, but right after it's been submitted. So you have to, you got to do it really, you just got to pay close attention. You don't want to close it out after you submit the test. Okay. In fact, let me double check that the settings are set that way so that you guys don't have any problems when you go to do something like that. All right, let's see here. Let me make sure that it is set up the way we wanted. I don't know why it's going super slow right now. Well, I can always come back to this. So I'm pretty sure that's the way it's set up. So I'm going to hit submit test. Of course, I haven't completed it all. I know that. I still want to leave. They're confirming me twice. Okay, submit the test. Okay, oh wait, I got question 1 right, question 2 wrong, and question 3 right. Oh wait, oh man, I missed question 2. Well, what I want to do now is review the test. So there's a button here, it says review. No, that's not where, hold on. It's running really slow for right now for me. Usually not this slow. I don't know why it's going so slow. That's really slow. But wait, if I click on question 2, oh wait, I put a parameter is a person or object. Oh yeah. Wow. Yeah, I totally. An individual is a person. Oh yeah, man. Okay. That was a good question. It's kind of an easy question. It sucks to miss an easy question. And actually a parameter is, it's not a person or object. A parameter is a numerical measure of a population. So it could be the mean of the population or a proportion, of a population. That's what a parameter is. And instead I put the wrong thing. I think I just saw a population and put, oh, it must be parameter, but it's actually fitting in the right word for fill in the blank. So anyway, now that I've, all right, let me close this. So I'm going to go to the point to where I want to print it out with the answers. Let me show you guys that. Some of you guys probably already figured it out. All right, looks like it's my, it's okay. Well, it booted me all the way out. All right, well, I'll start the test again. I'll just do the test one more time. But this time I'm only going to answer one question, and then I'm going to submit my test. I think that's the way it works. You have to answer at least one question. But you'll see, once we actually print out the test, what I'm going to do is print it to my OneNote. Then we're able to see all the questions without having to be micromanaged through it, through the technology. You can skip around, and you'll also have the solutions to each question so that you can check your work as you work through it. Now, they don't show how to do the problems. That's something that you should do. Okay. Here we go. Let's see one more time. Oh, that was my second attempt. Okay, finish the test they're asking me to do. Okay, I'll finish it. And I will do this one. I remember this one. Data, if finite is discrete, continuous. Actually, yeah, that looks good. Variable was characteristics, quantitative, numerical, qualitative, that. I might as well answer number 2 again too. All right, this is taking way too long. All right, let's see what happens if what's weird is the time is ticking away. Okay, I made it to 2. I'm going to put individual. Let's try one more time. Let's click that. Okay, so I'm going to submit the test. And now I want to print out the test. So let's make sure it's, let me see what the student view looks like. No, hold on. That's not, 1 second here. All right, that wasn't helpful. Yeah, I think it's after you hit, once you hit OK, they're gonna ask you to print it out. And so when you actually print it out, this is what you get. You actually get the entire test printed out like this. Okay, and we can see the answers. The answers are identified for the multiple choice. Okay, it's all right here. This hasn't changed. It goes 1 through 50. The last, it should go all the way up to 50. As you can see. So that's pretty much it, and how to do some of these problems. Like I went over some of these questions are really good questions to go over and make sure that you understand them. So what we can do is go over some of them and just make sure that you're clear on some of them. Let's see if we can find a good one to do. Yeah, some of these are pretty straightforward. I mean, it says which of the accompanying box likely has data with the larger standard deviation, and then why. And remember, standard deviation is a measure of variation. You know, how widespread are the values from the mean? If the rest of the data are very, very close to the mean, then it's really compact data. It's going to have a very tiny standard deviation. If the data varies from the mean a great deal, the standard deviation will be large. And the box plot is kind of a plot that showcases variation pretty good. Okay, the box is divided into 5 quartiles, or actually 4 quartiles. The first, the second, the third, and the fourth. And the first 25% of the data, obviously the first 25% has a longer arm, a longer like left whisker for box 1. So it's more spread out in the first 25 in the top. But overall, I mean, we're going from 5 to almost 30. Overall, the variation is a lot greater in box 2. And also the inner 50%, which is known as the inner quartile range. There's 50% of the data will be within that box. That box is a little bit longer than the other box as well. So we can say box 2 is likely has the data with the larger standard deviation because the box plot appears to have a greater spread. Pretty straightforward. This is just painstaking. And the way to do something like this would probably be to stack crunch. And what makes StatCrunch cool is that it will automatically import your data for you. You don't have to manually enter the data into the system. It will pull it in. And so therefore, you know, you're not going to make a mistake that way. And I did activate StatCrunch for the midterm exam. You have StatCrunch and you also will have the textbook. Those two will be activated. You'll have access to those as you take the test. Here's a question about calculating a z-score. And recall that a z-score, let's see, is the regular data minus the mean divided by the standard deviation. So this is how you would calculate a z-score. You have to figure out how far is the number from the mean, and then divide that by the standard deviation. This is how you would standardize your data. So you're kind of just going through it. Suppose baby's born after a period of 32 to 30. I don't know why. I don't like how they use gestation period, you know. I don't know. It almost seems like that seems like more of a vocabulary you'll hear in a veterinary and if when you're talking about animals and stuff, but it's okay. But basically saying that they have a mean weight of 2,500 grams and a standard deviation of 800 grams. And then babies born after 40 weeks have a mean weight of 28 grams and a standard deviation of 350. If a 32-week gestation baby weighs 29 grams and a 41 one weighs 3,200, find the corresponding z-scores, and then which baby will weigh more relative to the period in which they were born. So it's kind of like standardizing the values so that you can make better comparisons. Because right now we'll say, well, wait, the baby at 41 weeks weighs more, weighs way more. Well, this baby is 3,200 grams. The other baby was 29. But guess what? We're comparing them based on all babies like them. And so that changes everything. And the z-score doesn't kind of, it's unbiased in that way. So we would calculate the z-score of each data value that we have. We would do 2,900 minus the mean, which was 2,500, and we're going to divide that by the standard deviation of 800. And this is for, I'll call this z sub 35. Now the z sub 41, we're dealing with a 3,200, and they normally have a weight of 2,800. So both babies were born heavier than the average. And now at 41 weeks, look at their standard deviation is tinier, it's smaller. It's 350. And so what we need to do is calculate the standard deviation of each one. Like the difference there of the first one, Z of the 35-week one is that's just gonna be 400 over 800. That is a half. which is 0.50. Not much. Also because the z-score is so much, 400 didn't move it much, right? Over here, the difference between 3,200 and 2,800 is 400. So we're talking z of 41. And this is out of 350. All right, let me pull up my calculator, which I haven't had a chance to use in a while. We could probably do this in our heads easily, but I pull up my calculator here. 350 divided by 400. Actually, it's the other way around. 400 divided by 350. 1.14. The numbers just repeat after every 7. All right, so this guy has a bigger z-score. It's 1.14, the other one was 0.56. So when we compare them, we can say that the baby born in week 41 weighs relatively more since its z-score is larger than the z-score of 0.56. So that's a good problem. I didn't really identify which section it comes from, probably section or chapter 3. But yeah, you just got to do a bunch of problems, really. Our technology will do this. Our technology will find the variance. It can also find the deviation pretty easily. This is a sample. We could also do this in StatCrunch pretty easily. But since I have my calculator here, let me demonstrate how we would do this using our calculator. First thing we have to do is enter our data into our calculator. You go to Stat, Edit. I have a list. My lists are already used, so I'll clear them. Just clear these. Go up here, hit Clear, and then hit Enter. Clears it out pretty swiftly. We got 18, 10, 5, 9, 8. So we got 18, 10, 5, 9, 8. And so now what we're going to do, it's in our calculator. We can easily calculate the mean, the standard deviation. One way to do it is just go to one var stats. You go to Stat, Edit, Calc, one var stats, and that will actually, no frequency list, just list one, and then hit Calc. And it gives us a lot of stuff. Notice we have SX and then little sigma x. SX is this deviation if it's a sample, and little sigma x, the Greek letter for S, is the standard deviation if it's a population. They already told us it was a sample, so we will use the 4.84. Now, the variance is this number squared. And we could actually square that number by going into vars. If we go to vars and then just do stats 3 and then square that, it takes the number that was stored and it squares it for us. They got 23.5 and we got 23.5. Okay, the other way to do it, go to second list and go over to math. And then you can actually calculate the standard deviation number 7. It gives you the standard deviation as if it's a sample. It assumes your list is a sample, which is a good assumption. And we get that 484. And then we can square that last answer and get the 23.5 in 2 ways. Okay. StatCrunch would have been pretty easy to do as well. We just would have had to enter the data in. Now, if we were actually taking the test, we could use it. It wouldn't be too terribly difficult. Do we have any questions at this point? Was there a problem or another problem that is on your mind or that you'd like to be brought up? You can unmute or even type in the chat as well if you do have any kind of problem. I will say that quiz 2 just, I think a lot of people have been working a lot on that. And quiz 2 just ended not too long ago. So yeah, that was yesterday. Yeah, so chapter 5 is on the test. All right, yeah, that's good. You don't have any questions right now. Let me see if I can find a problem since you guys are here tonight and you're putting in the extra effort and being here. Let me find a problem worthwhile from chapter 5 that I think would be a good one to understand. All right, let's see. Because that's where there was a little bit of probability, I believe, in that section, and that's one where you really have to be on your P's and Q's. Let me see here. Oh, yeah, okay. Yep. And let's see another one. Okay, I have an idea. Let's do. Okay, let's find the at least, calculate the at least probability in the practice. These are not going to be on the test. We're not worry about that. This is a good one. 47. Let's put a star next to that one. That's not the one I wanted to do, but we can talk about that one. But let me find another one. This one. Both 47 and 48 are good problems to study, I would say. Let's try, let's see, which one do we want to try? I have some work here already. The whole idea of at least one and the negation of at least one is 1 minus the probability of all. So it's kind of weird how that works. So let's rack our brains around 48. And what is 49, by the way? Okay, 49 has a standard deck of cards, and we don't talk about cards on the test. It won't pop up just because a lot of people aren't familiar with the standard deck of cards. And this one looks pretty cool. It would be helpful if there was a two-way table. Sometimes that's what you can do, is create a two-way table. But let's look at 48 for a second. It says in 1970, 84% of 30-year-olds in the country earned more than their parents did at 30. In 2014, only 51% of 30-year-olds in the same country earned more than their parents did at age 30. Okay. Complete parts A through D. Now, we actually have the answers, but we don't have the work. Let's see. The first question is, what is the probability a random selected 30-year-old in 1970 earned more than his or her parents at the age of 30? Well, they're just repeating the whole thing. So let's see here. So we have in 1970, %84 earned more. In 2014, 51% earn more. This isn't exactly a two-way table, but I'm just trying to somehow chart out the work so we can try to understand this problem. So the first question, what is the probability a randomly selected 30-year-old in the 70s earned more than parents? Well, okay, so that's just 84% by default. That's the proportion. Number two, what is the probability that two randomly selected 30-year-olds in 1970 earned more than their parents at age 30? Round to 4 places. Well, two, well, we're going to do, it would just be, wouldn't it just be 0.84 times 0.84? The probability of one times itself. Let's see if that is correct. So we will plug these into the calculator. We got 0.84 times 0.84. And it is to the 4 places. It's 0.7056. That's what it is. And that is what it is here. Okay, let's try C. What is the probability that out of 10 randomly selected 30-year-olds in 1970, at least one did not earn more than his or her parents at the age of 30? Okay, now they turned up the difficulty a notch. So one thing we know is that when we calculate the at least one, what we do is the probability of at least one, the way we handle that is by doing 1 minus the probability of all. Because all and at least one are opposites of each other. I mean, so I said at least one. So what we'll do is do none. All right, and we even have we have it here. At least one positive or 1 minus all 5 negative. So we're going to say at least one did not earn more. At least one did not earn more is going to be equal to 1 minus the probability that they all earned more. Okay. And there's 10 of them. So I think what we can do is just say, hey, 1 minus the probability of one of them earning more to the 10th power. Wouldn't that just be 0.84 raised to the 10th power? Because we're multiplying it. The 10 represents the 10 people, and they're all independent of each other. So we're going to multiply by 0.84 times 0.84 times 0.84 10 times. Our calculator should be able to handle this. All right, let's do 0.84 raised to the 10th power first. That's a decent number. And then let's do 1 minus that. 1 minus the last answer. I'm getting 0.8251. 8251. 8251 was our answer. That's the chance. That's the probability. That is a really good probability. It's likely to happen. It's more than 50% chance that at least one out of the 10 that was randomly selected didn't earn more. There's a 64%, 84% chance that one will. But if we're getting a group of 10, okay, the probability goes down a little tiny bit. And this is the binomial. This problem comes from section 5.3, computing the at least probability section. So if you want to study something, you might want to go back and study section 5.3. Do some of those practice problems there, and understand that when we're doing at least probability, it is 1 minus the opposite of whatever we're trying to find. And then D, what is the probability that out of 10 randomly selected 30-year-olds in 2014, at least one did not earn more than his or her parents at the age of 30? And this reminds me of the problem we just did. The only difference is we're not going to use 84%, we're going to use 51% instead. And it's at least one did not earn more. So we're going to do 1 minus the probability that they all earned more. So 1 minus, we should be able to get the answer by doing 1 minus 0.51 to the 10th power. And we'll check our work here. 0.9988. And that's exactly what we have here. 0.9988. Okay. All right. We're probably going to shut it down here. I think this was good. I think this was a good start. Just let me know. Take some time. Spend some time on the practice, and you can reach out to me if you have additional questions and you want to go over some more things. That would be good.